Good afternoon and welcome to another episode in our Truth and Share podcast. I'm your host again today, Rohit Krishna. Today we have a familiar face joining us again, Dan Plashkes, CEO and co-founder of S&P. Welcome, Dan.
Well, thank you for having me, Rohit, as always.
Pleasure to have you on this episode. So Dan, today we have another interesting topic, and I think one that you kind of have lived and breathed in the past. And that topic is, are we entering another tech bubble? Similar to sort of 1999 and how that transition happened between 99 and 2000. And your company at the time was obviously at the heart of that experience and situation. And so can you tell us a little bit about how today compares to that time?
Right. So let's talk about the differences and the similarities. First of all,
Sure.
You're right. I feel I'm qualified to speak about it. In 1999, after selling our first contact center business to private equity, we were in the heart of it in California, and we raised around $80 million in a 6-month period, and also had from 6 institutional venture capital firms, and then we also had Intel as a big investor. We were early cloud, but we started with a piece of paper.
Right.
So it was a very different time. As you know, many companies came out of there and survived. More died than survived.
Right.
So I can see the differences where you didn't necessarily need revenue. If you're a financial analyst, you can argue if you're trying to justify the frothy valuations today, these companies have revenue, the multiples, that is price earnings, are very different. But the truth is there are tremendous similarities.
Right.
So first I'll talk about the differences. The differences are we are all tech enabled. It's our preferred modality. Many of us in 1999 had never given a credit card online.
Right.
May not have had internet. Think about how many people had internet. So it was very different from a structure. It was revolutionary in 1999. The market today has evolved, and I have so much respect. Just think about Amazon, Google, Facebook. The three of the greatest companies came out of this one state, California.
Right.
All started in the late 1990s, right?
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
And your company, your original company, eAssist, was actually out of Silicon Valley as well, wasn't it?
Well, our funding was all out of Silicon Valley. We did our development out of San Diego, California. So, I was up there every week. I just chose to live there, and we had all our development being done in San Diego, which, by the way, Qualcomm came out of there. There's, San Diego's a much smaller market, but still very, quite well known for development. So we had a good group there. We felt that people would come there for lifestyle. So we were able to attract a lot of top talent. A lot of that talent has gone on, sold businesses to Facebook, Salesforce.com. It was a good company.
Fantastic.
But when I look at this .com and I compare it now to the tech boom, I do see, we talked about things that were December. I see similarities.
Okay.
I worry about it. The market's gone up. Can you imagine that the market's gone up 40%? This, since we've had this tragedy of
March and April
of COVID-19. Yeah, I mean, it's really it frightens you because certain companies have done very well. It's certainly not been a uniform gain. Obviously, the FANG stocks, as they call them, have become more and more important. We've also seen unbelievable stories like Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's where I see the similarities. By the way, the companies that are doing well, there's more and more of these IPOs. You may remember, maybe you're too young. In 1999, we built a business case, very simple. We looked at the top 10 websites, e-commerce. We basically emailed them, whichever way they allowed us to communicate, which wasn't voice. We sent in, mystery shops.
Right.
3 of them got back to us in 24 hours, only 1 in 4 hours, which in the industry of contact center, that's unacceptable.
Right.
7 got back to us a week after or never got back to us at all. And this was their only storefront.
Right.
We're seeing the same things today.
Mm-hmm.
So, in Amazon, that's a great company. And their service is terrific.
Yep.
Okay? As the whole digital migration, the idea is I'm seeing the same rules being broken.
Mm-hmm.
My wife buys off Instacart. I hope they don't get offended. They sent her the wrong order.
Yeah.
She calls the 800 number. The 800 number tells her to look at the library of comments or email in. She did both. They never switched the order. Can't reach anyone.
Right.
It's money is the similarity is the cost of capital, very inexpensive. There's so much money on the street right now being raised. And you know what? I don't think the ideas are original.
Mm-hmm.
The parallel to Instacart is Webvan.
Right.
Webvan raised billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They're not around today.
Right.
Pets.com, great idea. We're seeing it today in Chewy.
Right.
So you take all the top, Cosmo.com, big client of mine at eAssist. How is that any different delivery than maybe any of the delivery companies, Uber Eats or anything like that? They were doing bicycle delivery in New York City, right?
And you're right. We are seeing a lot of IPOs just sort of in the last 60 days, even, right? You've got Airbnb, DoorDash, all of these platforms kind of going.
And they're great companies, right? By the way. I think Airbnb is an incredible company. DoorDash. I mean, Airbnb and Uber for me are in their own category.
Right.
They changed the world. But having said all that, I think they've forgotten about a lot of them. I'm not specific on Airbnb, though. If you've ever, had an incident, it's not easy.
Right.
I think that the companies are forgetting. They think that we're going to put you on digital. I mean, pet insurance, they're all doing the same. They're going to say, okay, well, you're going to respond digitally. That they think that doesn't mean that you have to service the customer.
Right. It's almost like these companies are like early adopters for those platforms, and then as things are changing, there's more of a need for those traditional sort of voice interactions, and there's more of a need to serve the customer because a lot of people, quite frankly, they're not comfortable dealing in digital only support, right? A lot of people like to speak to a live.
But you were getting to something else. I think what happens is when money's inexpensive, it's funny because people believe in first movers advantage. There's there's a book I read that says second movers or last movers advantage, whatever it is.
Right.
When money's inexpensive, people tend to think of grabbing market share. They don't think of the last mile to the customer, which is what S&P data always thinks about, right?
Right.
So I think that the last mile is being ignored in many cases. I mean, there isn't an example we all don't have where we're not waiting for hours. They're saying it's super busy. Well, there's people. They can hire us.
Yep.
So I think that part's getting ignored. So when does that change?
Right. So what does it look like in the future?
It changes because eventually the cost of the free capital dries up. This is where the dotcom 1999-2000 is the same as the tech boom.
Right.
Eventually the market's downturn. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And all of a sudden, if you're going to be a viable business, your capital, you're not going to have access to more capital. You got to turn a profit.
Yep.
And the best way to turn a profit is to optimize customer experience. No one's done this better than Amazon. So you take capital, you build.
Right.
But you got to optimize the customer experience. You got to understand the lifetime value.
Yep.
It's got to align. The cost of acquisition has to be less than lifetime value. Right. The best way to get customers to repeat is great customer experience.
Yep.
That's where we come in.
Right. And
you mentioned voice. My answer to you is we can service them on digital, we can service them on tech, but I mean, you shouldn't have anxiety if you want to speak to someone and you can't reach them and you've been charged for something.
Yep. And that's just it, right? I mean, businesses have, customers that have a different profile, right? It's not just one type of customer on your platform. You have to be able to pivot to the changing needs of your customer base, right? And what better way to do that than to have an omni-channel approach and, target to allow these customers a channel to reach you with.
I think this omni-channel is incredible.
Right.
So, when you and I speak about omni-channel, we're talking about what we offer. So we offer, we offer text, email, chat, voice, we offer chat bots, we offer advanced AI, all sorts of stuff.
Right.
But there's also the omni-channel of retail.
Yep.
And the omni-channel of a restaurant. The idea that you order and you come pick up, or someone delivers, or that you can fulfill in so many ways. Amazon's done a very smart thing with Whole Foods.
Right.
But, again, I know as a startup, as you know, I have this owner's box involvement, and there's DraftKings and FanDuel. They're really big.
Right.
They're the largest advertisers right now in the United States. But I tell our group, hey guys, we've competed against companies like Oracle and Microsoft. They're not status quo. Right. It's such a great opportunity. But the standard is a company like Amazon. So I don't think the government needs to protect us against Facebook. I think we're big people. I think that I'd rather see them, support small business.
Right.
The next company is incubated, but the failure rate's going to be really high if you ignore the customer service. And I'm seeing it same as 1999. the failure rate to drive profit.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you mentioned the size of the expenditure budgets may vary as well, right, from a marketing perspective, depending on the company. And I think that's important because even if you're a small player, relatively speaking, if you have a strong enough value prop and if you have a competitive advantage, you can easily compete and in many cases outcompete for market share.
I mean, what you're saying is, people are saying go support your small business. Well, it's hard when the stores are closed, but let's assume
Right.
you probably shop at a small business that you like because you like the shopkeeper.
Right. Yep.
Well, now if you're virtual, we have this idea to combine, as you know, to work with one of the leading e-commerce engines, marketplaces, where we
Right.
provide the last mile. The idea is that if you're going to compete, you got to have great service, that same intimacy, and you can win.
Right.
But as you know, acquiring customers is 5 times more expensive than keeping them.
Yep.
So I just feel the golden rules are being broken.
Mm-hmm.
That you better fix it, because when capital types up, you got to be profitable, or you will go away. And
Yeah.
I think the same. I really feel it's a very similar environment. I hate to say it. I hope this euphoria continues forever. But we got to be super excited about the digital transformation, the fact that we're at home, quality of lifestyle, and we're ordering way more as a percentage of our spend than we used to.
Yeah, and I think an interesting kind of topic to mention as well is traditional customer care has always been seen as sort of a transactional approach with your customer base, right? And I think what we're seeing is quite the opposite, right? In order to kind of retain and increase that customer lifetime value that you were speaking about earlier, you have to kind of treat the customer like they're an actual person, right? Which is not very similar to what businesses were doing in the past, which was treating it like more of a number in a queue, but rather interact with the person, create a better experience, and that all starts with how you recruit, hire, and train your folks to support your customers. Right?
Listen, it's a business in itself, our business.
Right.
So here they are trying to grow their business, all their capital. I think that they should look at an outsourcing, but obviously but the biggest companies have always outsourced some part of their business. I think the challenge for any company is finding the right balance between fully online service and the blend. By the way, I always give the example, how would you like to pay your phone bill? I'd rather pay my phone bill online than speaking to someone. So guys, rudimentary transactions, incredibly well serviced by self-help. You don't need a person. But when you escalate
Complex
and have it
transactions.
and you're in a panic,
Yep.
you need to be able to speak to someone. You need to have resolution. You need to feel good about it. And I think that's what Amazon has done so incredible, right? And I think that all those companies that, will go from, there are companies like Amazon that are going from, are working their way into the old bricks and mortar, but many companies are going from bricks and mortar like a Walmart, doing a really good job, but others will have to adapt. Right.
And so, that kind of leads me to my last question here, which was, what advice do you have for, businesses, small businesses, entrepreneurs alike, as they're kind of seeing this shift and this trend change, right? Is there anything that they can do to prepare?
I love to talk about entrepreneurialism, right? I love to talk to them. It's an incredible to believe. I mean, they say that, Hewlett-Packard, they basically built in their garage, but you can do that. Here's what I love: you don't need the capital you once did to compete. So number one, you don't have to buy a bunch of servers; you can rent them. You don't have to worry about the incremental growth. They'll guarantee that your data is supported,
like cloud services, scalability.
Yeah, everything's scaled on a next level basis. Everything you purchase on a next level basis, with APIs and the ability to someone's done it, so you can really stick to your application.
You can integrate any part of your supply chain into any other tool out there, right?
I mean, think about Shopify. You can just you can be in business in 15 minutes. They have the back office. You can process payments.
Pretty amazing.
It's really amazing.
Speed and scale.
So what's the differentiator? Differentiator is customer support. I mean, that's going to be the thing that at the end of the day is going to win. It's the same thing down to, why do you shop at a small business? You like the people that you're dealing with. Well, if you like the support, you're going to buy and you're going to buy again. And that's really, to me, the last mile is going to be the determinant of the winners in this new tech opportunity.
Fantastic.
So there's been some, but Rohit, just to wrap up, this has been an incredible time to be alive.
Absolutely.
And all I say is that, when 2000 came along, many people thought this would be the last time in our lifetime we'd ever see it.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're seeing it again.
Right.
So let's not make the same mistakes.
100% agreed. Well, thank you for sharing your insights, Dan. And
Thanks
so
for having me.
No problem. For our viewers and our listeners, you heard Dan say it as well, right? Especially the business owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs, or even if you're in, customer care or you have any sort of interaction with a customer, that experience is the most important, and that's the best way to kind of transition through and continue to grow and scale your business.
I agree with that. Exactly.
Fantastic. So thank you again for tuning
Thanks.
in to
Thanks
our
for
episode.
always great moderator.